All right. All right. We are live. As normal, everybody, I always make sure the LinkedIn Live comes up. I'm going to say it all the time. I have my timer coming. So I know a couple of my friends will sit there and say, Dave, where's your timer? And it is in the works. And then I'm going to introduce my guest here from Canada. So let's see. There we go. All right. Everyone, my name is Dave Wilson, Results Staffing, as you know, and I'm excited because I have Kinga Wysocka of Canada, and she is located in Markham, Ontario, right?
Yeah, just outside Toronto.
Over there, and like I know where that is, right? I'm looking at there. Kinga, the reason I had you on the show is I liked what you do is when you were talking about digital and social strategy marketing. Can you explain what you do to everybody?
Absolutely. In a nutshell, I do digital marketing. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. But to go into a little bit more specific, anything from web development, search, social media, online advertising. So really anything your business needs to do online, we do that.
And you do that. How is it affecting in Canada right now?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How does it affect you in Canada?
I think the biggest change for our business is that it's actually gotten busier because we don't have to convince people anymore that they need to go online, that their business needs to go digital. It's sort of, if you don't go digital right now, then your business is going to suffer. So for us, it's just kind of brought about change to people.
Right.
This is a lot faster.
That's a lot. The reason I reached out to you, which I really liked, when you talked about starting a new business. And I told you before when we talked about how words mean a lot to me, and what stood out, you know, when you started your first business, how scared you are. And then you talked about overcoming the fears. Then you talked about support, having your family. That resonated with me because with my wife, what I've done. Then you talked about the research and then about failing. That's what, you know, as a new business owner, I think everyone, I was like, I'm reading this. I'm like, here we go. And that's why I reached out. Why did you write something like this? What do you feel the reason?
I think I felt that a lot of people think of failure as a negative, and whether they notice it as a fear or they're scared or they just can't get past something, it's really stopping them from doing something that could be really good for them and that they really want to do. So fear and fear of failure is something that just stops people dead in their tracks, and they kind of won't go on to do something that might have been like life-changing for them and would have been really great for them. So when I first decided to start my own business, it was really scary. You don't know where that paycheck is coming from. You don't know where your clients are going to come from, if you're going to succeed or not. And once I sort of started shifting my mindset and started looking at failure as a good thing, so I would try something new, and if it didn't work, instead of getting down on myself and being upset about it, I would see, why did it not work? Maybe I'm not meant to do that. Maybe I need to try it a different way. And anytime I've failed at something, it's instead led me down a better path. So I've tried something different. I've moved away from that. Maybe it's not something I was meant to work on, or not something that I'm passionate about. So I've turned that failure into a positive and into a way to see, what can I do next instead, or how can I do something?
So how does someone, like, let's just use the scenario myself. I'm new, starting a business, and I reach out to you. What do you sit down and tell me? What do you do for me?
So with every customer, first I would have a discovery call just to see, what are you all about? What kind of business are you in? What sort of challenges are you having? What's working for you? What's not? And how you see this relationship working. So it has to be a two-way street. We have to want to work together. And I sort of try to look for, what are your pain points and how can I help you pivot your business? So that you can actually see a big change, especially online and in the digital space. And for most people, I can do that. I honestly haven't had many clients where I've been like, oh, I can't help you, or we're not together. It's been very seldom. But if I can't, then I have lots of people that I work with and that are in the industry that I recommend. So I'm all about recommendations. And if I feel that, hey, maybe this person would work with you better, or they offer something more than I do, then I am for sharing, especially sharing information, because I think that just helps all of us.
For that part. And you actually help somebody. You'll come in also if they've been in business for a while and they're struggling. That's where also that you offer your service,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. So a lot of businesses right now need to pivot, and for them, it might feel like they're starting their business all over again because the way that they were doing business might not be working anymore, and things aren't going to go back to normal. Like I still keep hearing people say, like, when things go back to normal, there is no normal. There's going to be a new normal, and things weren't working the way that they were before. It just didn't work. So there is no going back to normal. It's going to be a new normal. And a lot of businesses have to adjust how they're going to function and what their business is going to look like. And if they don't, then unfortunately they might not survive.
That's where I wanted to ask you about, like, the reason I say about the digital, and even though I like no social media, and the SEO. The SEO to me is, hey, it's scary. I don't know. And if you had to break it down to I always say it like myself, right? Myself. What, in simple terms, what is the SEO? Everybody knows, like I know from Google and everything, but what's the importance of it on someone like myself on a new startup? How can that really, really help?
So it's not for everyone. It's not for every business. It's pretty specific. It's very important in being found. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically it's optimizing you on search engines. And for most people, that's Google. So for a business like yours, where you're in staffing, people in your area would be searching for things like recruiter, new jobs, anything about hiring. And probably more specific to your area, even though you might work across the country. So if somebody searches like Pennsylvania recruiter, you would want your name to come up. And if you're not optimized for search, and if your website isn't optimized for search, then you're not going to show up in that first page, maybe second page, maybe even third page. And just think about how many times do you personally, when you do a Google search, do you click past the first page?
I don't a lot.
You don't, right? Yeah. So if you don't come up, and if you don't even come up on Google My Business, which is Google My Business is where it shows your actual business, like your profile, a picture where you are on the map.
Right.
That's more important. It shows reviews on your business. If you don't even show up there, then that will hurt you because people won't find you. So using search just enables you to be found better.
So they can come to you. They can come to you. Let's just say if they wanted to be found, they could come to you and ask your advice, and you would help them walk through that, right?
That's right. Yeah, we would do the search engine optimization for them. Yeah. So
I told you before, my questions change from some of the script. So if, like, years ago when I first started, I'm going to say like the DJ business, I told you, I remember we're learning with Google, you had to pay to play. It was more, wow, you had to put some money out to get to that front page and referrals. Can that change a little bit too by utilizing SEO properly versus money?
Yes. So we don't recommend spending money unless you really want to run a campaign around something. The whole point of doing search engine optimization is that you get the organic growth. So you're not paying for it. Obviously, you're paying for us in order to do the service for you, but you're not paying Google, you're not paying for ads. So we get you to the top organically. And that's through making sure you have the right keywords on your website, making sure you have the right links. There's a huge checklist that we go through, even of things that Google finds that are better searchable. So if you don't have certain things in your website, they don't think that you're complete and that you're good enough. There's certain errors your website might be producing that you would have no idea about. It would be all in your back end. But there's some major errors where Google sees you as doing something incorrect, and they will just never push you to the front. So if you don't fix that, you will never, it doesn't even matter how much money you spend.
It doesn't matter on that part.
Yeah. And actually when you're paying and how long you're paying for, that'll actually hurt you eventually, because that goes into Google's algorithm as well. So when you stop paying, they're going to see that you didn't get those people organically, you paid for them. So we always try to tell people to go organically, because that will just continue to build and grow. And it's not something that you're going to have to continue paying for. Yeah, we definitely don't recommend spending ads like before you would spend like $1 for a certain popular word to come up first. We definitely don't recommend that.
All right. Can you sing for 30 seconds while I plug my computer in because it says battery low? So this is a great thing about being live, but I better plug it in. So if you could just make the guests happy. It came up. So this one I'm going to learn, put on my list to make sure that it's plugged in. That is
No problem.
Thing, but they get to enjoy your voice. So there we go.
Well, I'm not very good at singing, so I'm definitely not going to sing.
Well, you play hockey. Come on, right, Canada?
I do not. My husband does. No, I'm a basketball and football fan. So
basketball. So back to this, what interests me is what you said. Like, I've received from my website, well, you get $100 free, like they'll try to sell you Google. They'll give you these ads. And I did the Google My Business. That came up now. That didn't happen prior years ago, I'm going to say. So now I've gotten to Google My Business. I figured it out. From there,
and you can do that for free, right? Like that's just something you can do.
Yeah.
Someone to do. So yeah.
And that's where I'm learning now more of the WordPress and those keywords, because I've learned, I was like, wow, I came up in top 30 staffing agencies. I was like, wow, that was fast.
Yeah. And you just started. So that's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you back to the same thing, which interests me. And I think with people, the digital, when you say digital marketing, how would you explain that again? I like saying in my terms, it makes me feel like digital marketing means, what does it mean to me or small business?
Sure. So digital marketing is just how can your business be online? And we sort of focus on all of the avenues that go into digital marketing. So everything like SEO search that we talked about, web development, so making sure you have a website. I think in the past, it used to be that you needed sort of a logo and a business card to show that you were legitimate. And now it's into, do you have a website? If you don't have a website, people sort of don't believe that you're real. You are a proper business. And now it's gone one step further because a lot of people can make their own websites and there's a lot of fake websites out there. So that's where social media has come in, because people not only check your website, but then they see, are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? They want to see who you really are. They want to build that sort of trust factor with you. And that's why we see that almost, I think it's the stat is now 60 to 70% of people search you and find you through social media before they even purchase a product from you. So that prompt is huge now.
So do you think how would do you suggest to people, if I was I always see them back to me asking you, look, I'm asking for myself, I'm getting free advice here. But I think a lot of people would ask the same thing as a small business is, listen, I know social media, that's my profession. Website building, listen, I started out with that free thing with GoDaddy and I built it and it didn't show really anywhere, but it was something that people could go back to. But as soon as I spent the money, with them and developed it and then started the SEO, I was like, wow, what a difference.
Exactly.
So do you suggest, is there a way that it's linked in a way? I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Your social media into your web page also? You want to feed your social media to your web page?
Absolutely. So it's not something that you want people to search for, like Dave's Facebook page on Google. If they find your website, you want it to be something that's very prominent, like at the top header, very clear, where they can click on your Instagram, on your Facebook. Don't make it hard for them. Show them that you want to be found and you want them to follow you, to check you out. So it's one of the first things I do on websites, both desktop and mobile, is make sure you have your social links there so that people can click that button. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, if it's relative for your business. So for you, that's probably the most important. People, they don't see you on LinkedIn. They don't see you contributing. They don't consider you an expert. If you were a bakery, probably not as important. You want a page, but you wouldn't be broadcasting it. You'd probably be showing your Instagram and your Facebook. Right.
Because LinkedIn's just as important, I believe, within professionals and actually everybody. It doesn't, I think everybody should have a LinkedIn page because it really is, it's a skill set of what you're doing. You're researching you just because you don't have I always say, hey, I didn't go to schooling or special schooling, but you can still have a great LinkedIn page. So that's just as important too. So all your platforms into one, because I know on the bottom, you can just click and click.
Absolutely. And it's sort of like LinkedIn's turned into your online resume, right? So
yes,
in the click of a button, I don't have to ask someone to send me your resume. Even I was looking for a new accountant, and the first thing I did was I went through where has he worked, what has he done, and the one thing that caught my attention was that he worked for the CRA, which is like the RA,
right.
RA for you, or I'm not sure. But he works for the CRA in Canada, which is the tax auditing agency for the government. So he worked there for like 15 years. So that caught my attention because I was like, wow, so he's going to be really great at doing taxes for my business because he knows what they're going to audit and thing like maybe loopholes or things to get me some extra tax breaks.
Tax break on that. And you're right, because I didn't even know when I had applied for a market manager in my own company, the VP says, I was sitting at the office, she goes, oh, just have Dave send his LinkedIn profile. And I'm like, at that point, I didn't even know what LinkedIn was. I heard about it. So I'm looking over, her name was Kendra. I'm like, what do I do? She takes a picture of me of a thing. And I didn't realize how great it is because like yours, I printed out. It's no different. You know, I get to see everything. And that's why I try to tell everybody about LinkedIn is I know everything about you right here.
Exactly. And it's standardized, right? So for employers, they don't get all these different resumes and cover letters that people format differently. Like, you know, you're going to have the person's most recent title, their education, all of the jobs that they've held. If you fill it out completely, all your skills and highlights, recommendations you've gotten, they're going to see all that. So it's a lot easier for them to just click on your LinkedIn profile and print it out or save it versus ask all that effort. And then they sift through it.
If you had to say, I got two more questions for us. If you had to say, what is a day consist of you of phone calls when somebody's calling you? What's normally like the first couple of questions that they're asking you? Do you find?
I guess one of the biggest ones, once they explain to me what they do, is they ask what should they be doing or what can they be doing better. So we go through that based on what their business is. One of the biggest ones that we get is, or that I get personally, is about social media. So a lot of businesses thought that, oh, it's just social media. I have a personal social media account. I can take pictures and post stuff myself.
Right.
But to notice you're not getting that traction. You're not getting people other than your best friends and your family clicking on you. So, and then it starts to take over their life. Their job isn't social media. Their job is, I own a cafe, or I am a recruiter like you, or I am a plumber, or a new builder. I have a new customer in actually Cape Coral, Florida, who's a new construction builder. And he doesn't have time to sit on Facebook and Instagram every day. His business is building homes. So he needs to work with someone like myself who can focus on putting his business on social media and online and customers for him. So I think that's one of the biggest ones. How can people go online and sort of take that off of them so they can focus on their business and doing their business better? And I think that also has a lot to do with learning how to let go. So you can't do everything yourself. I know that as a business owner, you know, like you wear many hats, and you're the accountant, you're the employer, you're your own HR. Here you go. You get my stress. Here I go. That's all I do. I was telling you. I'm like, here we go. Yeah, you're your web developer. You're your graphic designer. You write your own content. You're the biggest content creator, right? I think people need to sort of chip away at certain things and say, what is my business and what am I doing, and what can I outsource to other people? And today, that's very easy because you don't need to meet with the person. They don't need to be living close enough to you where you can meet with them. You can do it online. We work with people from all over the world, whether they're in Hong Kong or the US or Canada. It doesn't matter. We meet virtually. And I think everybody's seeing the value in that now. You don't need to travel to meet with someone. You don't need to set up a meeting and drive and see them. Like, I can instantly click on the link and we're live together, and we can see if we can work together. And you can see. And what I liked about, what's this, John? Let me see. Good morning, David. It's a new age. We just like putting A as your company name in the, he's my one friend, John. He's old school. He's like 80 years old, John. He's always funny at one comment. One thing that stood out when you said to me is, I'm very into the words and reading people's messages, is I like how you said, and you can explain it better, is your business is shut down. You know, right now with the COVID, you're down. You told me that
your customer's still there. And could you elaborate that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I think at first a lot of people took a nice break and they thought like everybody shut down. I don't need to do anything, which I think a lot of us needed to get out of that rat race and needed to get out of that constant, like my work is me, my career is me. Like we did need that mind shift to remind us that that isn't who you are. It's a part of who you are. You need your friends, those connections instead. But I think after the first couple weeks, that's where people started to pivot their business. So you either realized I need to do more online, or you kind of decided I'm going to wait for this to be over and my business will hopefully be alive and continue once things go back to normal.
Right.
So I think what I've sort of been preaching to people, because they don't understand why they need to go online or why. Most of them do, but if they don't, or you might be a chiropractor or in a business where you physically have to meet people and you can't do your job unless you see them. You're a hairdresser. You can't virtually cut hair. So people are like, well, why do I need to show up online? And I think the biggest thing that I tell people is that if you are a business owner, you need to know that your customers are online now more than ever. They're not deserting you. They're just putting their lives on pause for a while. And they're still here. They're watching what you say. They're watching what you do. And you might have a new purpose now. So what you do online might be different, but being online matters now more than ever. If you are that hairdresser, maybe you're showing people how to cut their own hair or maintain their own hair at home. Maybe you're putting together special kits so that people can actually groom themselves or dye their hair themselves at home, but you're providing them those services, right? I have a client who is a chiropractor and she is going online every day and giving tips to people. Do you have back pain? Like, here's what you can do at home. Instead of just shutting down shop, she's Zoom consultations, right? So if I still have back pain, I'm not going to live with that pain for the next coming week. So she'll do that consultation with you. And even though she can't physically do that adjustment or whatever it is on you, she can give you exercises and things that you can do at home by yourself, right?
Right.
And you don't have to offer it all for free, like certain things, yes. But you can start charging for these things, because whether you do the consult in person or online, it's still valuable business. You're not just giving it away for free. But I think the biggest thing is,
my wife hears you say that, she's going to say I've been giving away for free. I'm done. My therapy session, but you're right. I know
there are things that should be free, but there are things that people do need to pay for. And businesses are starting to realize that. Even gyms and personal trainers, they've been doing virtual sessions for free. And a lot of them now are starting to charge for certain classes or smaller group sizes or one-on-one coaching. But you're going to have a new purpose now. And what you do online is going to be different, but it's mattering now more than ever. And once we get to the other side of this, and once we get to whatever that new normal is, the people that were online with you, they're going to trust you. You've built that trust because you kept going, you kept providing value, you kept showing up. So they now believe in you. And when things do start to change, you're going to be the one that they're going to remember. They're going to remember you because you were online, you were providing advice on how to get jobs, and you were showing up, giving tips to people during this time. So I would feel that if I was looking for a new job, I would contact you versus Google searching some random person that I've never heard of before and that was completely silent and went off the grid during COVID, right?
Right.
So for me, especially with social media, it's all about building that trust, and building that trust right now is more important than ever.
Well, that's what I say. And I've mentioned it with all the guests is what for the staffing for me is they really need to, like you said, trust instead of Google. I've met so many people right now that I know who to go to. It's like, there's sometimes I don't want to do this. I don't mean it like that, but there's sometimes I don't, but I force myself. Because like you said, I don't want people to think what happened. Where was he just sitting around? And I think as an employer that if I saw people like you could just sit down and forget about it and collect the unemployment. But I tell them you need to be doing something now. This is the time, and I told you in the beginning that if this didn't happen, would this be going on for me?
Yeah.
Probably and not. I feel that it's going to come back. It's going to come back to me. And I am stressed just like anybody else, there's no difference, but I keep saying 2-3 months from now, that's where I think, from just us talking, like, they're going to reach out. Who is that person? Like, your name is.
You're going to see a payoff. Yeah. And if you can't, if you are, say you're an employee of someone, you don't have your own business and you don't ever plan on having your own business, it's not the path for everyone. That's why you have your business, because people actually look for jobs with employers. There's things that they can do. So think about after COVID, what's going to happen? If somebody asks you, what have you done the last few months? And I think they're going to want to hear as well, I just sat at home. Of course you did, but is that all you did? You just kind of wrote this out. Maybe there's online courses you can take to better a skill, whether it's in marketing or learning a new skill or a new asset. It could even factory workers can learn different ways of doing things. How do you stand properly? How do you not get as injured at work? There's so many courses that are being offered free online right now.
That's what I say. LinkedIn training, let me tell you, that is the most, I'll tell you what, LinkedIn, and I got a free month of it, but they're so professionally done. And, I still listen to YouTube. I go on my YouTube and see that too, but I didn't know all that stuff. Even when I go to CareerLink in PA, like for the unemployment there, the resources that are there, I didn't know about before, even for my business.
It's also there. Everybody's now offering these resources too, right? So they might have not before if this hadn't happened. So you're now able to tap into so much learning and education, marketing. And during this time, what if you took a course on social media? You can get certified on how to do social media, or maybe how to do basic graphic design. And when your workplace reopens, and even now, if you're working from home, you can start building these new skills and adding that to your resume. So you're adding more value to your company. You're not only doing marketing, but now also you could say, I can do that graphic design work for you. Maybe you don't need to hire somebody else. And that could make the difference between you staying with the company or maybe having to leave if they do have to. So
let me shut that off. That's my great son there. See, you got to love live, right? You got to love all this new stuff. My last question for you, if in 30 seconds, if you had any type of advice for a new business starting up right now, struggling, or that have been in business that don't understand, that are afraid to, like you said before, like it's okay to call and ask. There's nothing wrong with it, because we're all in it together. What would you suggest if you were just saying out there, what would you suggest to anyone?
I would suggest just reach out to someone. If you don't know what to do or what type of help you could use right now, reach out to anyone, whether it's somebody you follow on Facebook or Instagram. Don't be scared. Send them a message. If you're on LinkedIn, send them a personal message. That's how we connected. You sent me a message and I liked your post. Like, can we connect? Is there anything we can talk about? So don't be scared to reach out. People now more than ever want that connection and they want to help you. So people aren't scared to go after you. It's a change in mindset. They're not just competing with you. We all want everybody to win. There's space for everyone. Just because you're a recruiter in Pennsylvania doesn't mean that you want to be the only one. There's space for people to do what you do, right? Just reach out. I think that's pretty much the biggest advice I can give you, and try to learn as much as you can. And don't be afraid to fail. Everything that you try isn't going to work. Things might not work at all for you. You might try social media or search in it. We might learn, actually, this hasn't added any benefit or any potential revenue for you. So maybe it's working for you. Let's try something different.
I'm going to do broadcasting now. I want to start a radio. I'm thinking, you know what? I love doing this. I got like 3 more today. I'm thinking, wow, if I could get paid for this, well, I will. Exactly. I got to get to work afterwards. I'd be like, well, that was easy. Swipe your credit card now for $9.99 or $19.99. Would be good to go. But no, and I appreciate, and like I said, this is why I reached out to you. That support, research, fail. When I read that, I think my stomach. That's why I wanted to reach out. And I thank you for your time in Canada. So you're my first person I've ever spoken to in Canada.
Thanks for having me.
No, and I appreciate it. And the website.
Sorry, you froze on my end.
Like I said to everybody, everyone, and let's see, I always make sure we go off because